All right, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome to finally, we're here. We were just talking about how both of us were so, I don't want to say upset, but we were sad to have to postpone and reschedule. But here we are. I have Maranda Bauer with me here today from Postpartum University, and I'm just so excited. I mean, every time I talk to you, Maranda, I always learn something, first of all. And so it's just a pleasure. Your knowledge of nutrition for the perinatal time period is just so vast. So I'm excited to have you share that today with these doulas. And just personally, nutrition is kind of a new passion of mine, new in like the past 10 years. And I posted an old picture of myself, literally, that I found.
I saw that. That was amazing.
Oh my God. And I was like, I wish I had a time machine so I could bring this poor girl some bone broth, because I was a mess. I had a C-section after a long labor, and then a fever and an infection. I was readmitted, and then just sleep deprivation. And then I had 2 more babies. I mean, the word depleted doesn't even begin to describe my own personal experience for like, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years. And then I was eating smoothies and salads and tons of dairy. I thought I needed a lot of dairy for calcium. So now I know I was pretty much doing all the wrong things. And I just know if I had known more about nutrition then, it would have made a big difference. But so I think doulas are in such a unique position to really, really help. And we've talked about this before, to help women like on a generational level. So I'll let you get into all that. But so I'm excited to share with them today how they can add in some functional nutrition to their doula work, and just learn from you. So tell us your quick story.
Yeah, so I have so much to share with you just on what you had said, but I'll first start with, I'm Maranda Bauer. Yes, I run Postpartum University, and we have been operating and in business for over a decade now, which is absolutely insane. And I'm just so grateful to be in here. And I started on my journey after my extreme postpartum experiences. So I have 4 kids. I've experienced depression, anxiety, along with the rage. I have also been diagnosed with postpartum bipolar after my 3rd. I also got a diagnosis of a autoimmune disease, which I have since healed. And I have gone on to have the most amazing euphoric postpartum experiences that have lasted many, many months and then some. So I've truly experienced the gamut of what it means to have a very difficult experience, along with having the experience of which postpartum is supposed to be. And I think in our world right now, we have come to really we only understand really one side of it, because we're not supporting women in the way that we should. Of course, as doulas, we're coming in and we understand the significance of this, but how many of us are doulas because we didn't get that care? So many women out there in the world don't even know what they don't know until they're already in the throes of it, right? And then for many of us, it's too late. And so I know I'm speaking to the choir, and that this information needs to be shared. We need to support women at this other level, but what we're not talking about is how to do that. Instead, we're talking about, well, postpartum depression exists, right? And we have these mood disorders and anxiety disorders, and we have all of these things. And I think that's important. It's really important to have conversations about what you can expect, but what we've done in the process is we've normalized a crappy motherhood experience.
Yes,
we've totally done that. And so, and yes, again, it serves a purpose, right? And women need to know that they're not alone, and that they should definitely, no shame, no guilt. Like, it happens to everyone. And I mean, your chances of it happening are just significantly higher than it would ever be. And the statistics of depression, anxiety, and autoimmune disorders are only growing exponentially in postpartum.
Right.
And we're not doing anything about it. We're not talking about these root causes, right? We're not talking about this.
Right. And I mean, like you said, I'm glad we are talking about the fact that depression and postpartum anxiety exists. But again, it's kind of like the whole, it's common, but it's not normal. Like,
Exactly.
so
Exactly. It is so common. Chances are you're gonna have one of the three, if not more. I
right.
mean, that's where the statistics are right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean it's okay.
Right. Or
And
that you can't do something about it.
yes, right. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go to counseling and that you need medication and all of these things. I was actually working with a client yesterday, and she was just finishing up the program. I have a postpartum nutrition plan, and so our focus was on nutrition. And she was like, Miranda, like, I had severe rage. Like, I would lose my entire human essence. Like, everything was out the window the moment my toddler threw a fit, every single time. And she was like, and I've been on the nutrition plan for 6 weeks and I haven't had that in 2+ weeks. And she was like, it's mind blowing to me. I don't quite understand it. How did nutrition change my brain? Because I'm not reactive to this anymore. And it's like, oh gosh, we could talk about this forever, of why this is like, we're addressing the root cause. We're not just covering it up with a Band-Aid anymore. And so in postpartum, I think, and healthcare in general, this is our healthcare world, right?
Right.
We're not addressing the root cause of so many issues. We're not trained to do that, right? Doctors are trained in pathology. They're specifically there to look at disease.
Right.
And so, as doulas coming into this field, you have a very unique position in which you are able to offer solid advice on, hey, this is how you actually heal it, because we're not supporting. So it's kind of like, I tell doulas all the time, when I was a doula, I didn't want to leave a client and then have them be so upset because I was leaving, because there goes all of their support. I want to be the doula who sets them up for so much success that when I leave, they're like, I am so grateful for you, and I'm such in a better position because I have the tools I need.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's a huge difference. And if we are not talking about nutrition, we are missing some of the most fundamental pieces of healing. I mean, it's like nutrition and sleep. We talk about those all the time. Well, we talk about sleep all the time. You can get all the sleep you want and still have immense problems with your body, major hair loss, reoccurring headaches, mood swings, right? All the things that we call normal, gas and bloating. If you're not focusing on nutrition, there's a huge gap,
right,
that we are leaving out here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we are in such a unique position to share this information with our clients.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that you have to, I hear all the time, well, what about scope of practice, right? It's something that you can, you're not diagnosing somebody. You're
Right.
saying, hey, it's really important that we focus on nutrition. Here's some things that you can do. Here's what I would recommend.
Mm-hmm. It's similar to
different.
Right. It's similar to it's educating about the interventions that might come up.
Absolutely.
We can,
cesareans are out of your scope of practice.
right.
You can talk about it.
Right.
So
you can provide resources.
Yes, provide those resources. Oh my gosh, you're in such a, like, you are the ground floor.
Mm-hmm.
You are the people who are out there doing the hard work. You are what is going to change the way women experience motherhood. It's not going to happen through a doctor. It's not going to happen through a nutritionist. It's not going to happen through counselors. It is going to happen with you as doulas on the ground floor, supporting these women in a way that they need to be supported. That is how the world is going to change.
Absolutely. And doulas are prime for this because, you know, not only do we have great relationships with our clients, but we're in their homes.
And they trust you, right? Like you have such a unique relationship. They look at you as if you are the expert. You are the expert.
Right. Yeah. And
you have all the tools. You're, you know, like,
right. And we have the time. So not only do providers, doctors and pediatricians like don't get this training in nutrition, you know, they're spending 4 minutes with these moms at appointments. So there's, you know, they don't have even time to go over nutrition, even if they did know anything about it.
And I don't want to put down doctors in any way. They serve a really important purpose in our world. But we have to also understand that it's not within their scope of practice either. They're not trained for it. And honestly, I have my certification program, and it's not just for doulas. It is created specifically for professionals in the field. So there's a lot of doctors, nurses, midwives, and nutritionists who come through, along with chiropractors and everybody who really wants to support women through nutrition. And I have nutritionists tell me all the time, this was not taught. I had no idea. And I think it's important to recognize that the reason why this isn't done is because we're not taking into account the unique physiological and psychological changes that occur in postpartum. So often we just lump postpartum right along with pregnancy and birth. And all three of those are very unique periods in a woman's life. Yes, they go hand in hand, but postpartum, the physiological and psychological changes that occur is radically different than postpartum or pregnancy. We can't lump postpartum together with those things. And that's often what happens, right? You go to a big conference, and this is how I started. I have spoken all over the world. Like you go to a conference and it's all about pregnancy and childbirth. And then the speaker, who is me, at the end of the conference, you know, day 3, and then I get to say something about postpartum.
Right.
It's like the afterthought, right? Like postpartum cannot be the afterthought.
No, because it don't even get me going on this. You know, as a postpartum doula, I always say like the birth is going to happen, but postpartum is years. So let's dive into it. Why is nutrition so crucial and vital at this stage? And even like nutrition in the way, not even like the, you know, USDA, whatever nutrition.
Okay. So I'm going to try to explain a little bit more about some of the changes that occur in the body. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about, I'm not going to get into the nervous system, but there's a lot of things that occur in the nervous system. For the sake of time, let's just say lots of changes that happen. And those things that happen within the nervous system trigger massive shifts in the way in which we digest our foods. And so when we have these major shifts, it's far more difficult to process. We cannot digest food as we once were, right? And many cultures around the world practice this. This is why so many places have postpartum foods, right? And cultures and just views about this. In Ayurvedic, we talk about digestive fire. Why? Because we don't have any. And that is a normal biological change that happens within your body to help you recover faster. And so what happens often is that we don't actually support these these biological changes. Instead, we try to push through them.
Mhm.
Or we just don't understand it, and we're told that, food doesn't make any difference, and we eat whatever we can, because sometimes as a mother, that's all you can do, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
Sometimes you're making a sandwich one-handed, or you're eating the leftover chicken nuggets, right?
Yeah, or
Look
right, shoving a granola bar in your face. The other piece of this that Christine just commented is then you're also like trying to lose the baby weight and get back in
oh my
shape.
gosh,
So
it's like a
let's
whole
just
different conversation.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let's
Yes.
just eat salad and
that's what we equate with healthy food, right?
right.
Those salads and smoothies. If you want to lose weight and if you want to be healthy, then we need to eat all the vegetables, and we need to, eat this particular way. But we've failed to understand how the body's changed, and that eating those foods are going to sit in the gut longer. And what happens when food sits in the gut longer? It kind of spoils, in a way, quote unquote, right? You get gassy, you get bloated, you get constipation, which is not something you want in postpartum, right? Again, we call that normal after birth because of the relaxin and the hormones, right? We've made up excuses because we're not treating our digestive needs as we should. We're not getting to the root of the problem.
Yeah.
And what happens is that when that lingers for a long period of time, say a couple of weeks, it starts getting worse. Okay, so if you're not able to digest your foods, right? And it's sitting in the gut longer, and you're not able to process and absorb, because here's a component that I talk about often. It's not just about eating nutrient dense foods. It's also about its absorbability. If you're eating that salad, it's not absorbing. But if you're eating a soup or a stew, or something that's warm and nutrient dense and more of a liquid form, and these again are like traditional meals, like they had it figured out, your body doesn't have to exert so much energy to absorb those nutrients. Right. Nutrients runs every function of the human body. Our cells require them for function. We cannot expel toxins without nutrients. We cannot balance our hormones without nutrients, which means that we're going to digest foods, we're going to have issues with that ongoing, because hormones run digestion, hormones run sleep, hormones runs so
milk production.
Milk production. Oh my gosh. Right? That's a whole different, we can be here forever.
I know. Sorry.
We can be here forever. And so when we look at all of the components that nutrition plays an effect on, what we're doing is we're starving ourselves. And we're in a unique period of time when our body needs exceptional nutrient value, because we have just grown a baby with our entire body. So many of us are entering postpartum oftentimes depleted already, because we grew a human being and we're not always taught how to eat correctly, right? I mean, this is the world that we're living in right now. And then we give birth. And I don't care how you give birth, right? You have a big wound to heal from. It's like, we talk about how it's like running a marathon, right? Like giving birth is like running a marathon, and you got to prep for it and all of that. And it takes a long time to recover. And I will guarantee you, what do marathon runners do after they have ran a marathon? They sleep and they eat, and that is it.
Right.
Those are their focuses, sleeping and eating for days, right? And so anyway, what I'm saying is, it plays a significant role in so many different processes within our body. And when we are nutrient depleted, we run the risk of depression, anxiety, autoimmune issues, mood disorders. And the reason, I mean, there's so many different reasons for it. I'll say this really quickly before I take a break. How many nutrients of the body have been associated with depression and anxiety. Iron levels, vitamin D, magnesium, like we can go on and on and on. We know that deficiencies and those key vitamins and more, iodine, like, I mean, we can go on the list here. They are related to depression and anxiety. So much so that it boggles my mind that when a woman goes in to get support for mental health challenges and postpartum, that her nutrition levels aren't checked first.
Right.
It's mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing.
Yeah. Because what really frustrates me about that is, I mean, so yes, it would be hard for a postpartum mom to make herself a soup. But what I was going to say is, like, it is so hard to get out to counseling when you have a new baby and you're struggling with depression, or figure out who to call to get a prescription. Like, that's a lot of work.
It's not even like you don't, and to find somebody who understands and who's trained, because depression and postpartum depression are very two different things.
Right. It's just so much easier to have your postpartum doula make you some soup that is packed with nutrients. And
they're begging for this.
Right.
Mothers are begging for this. I mean, how many times do you go into somebody's home and they're like, I haven't eaten, or I need food, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
It's standard. It's almost like, you know, that when you enter into that home, one of the things that you are probably going to be doing is making those meals.
Right.
It's one of the
and then making the making better ones that will serve the family more. And I just want to put also a caveat, like, I don't mean to put down counseling or medications or other things. I'm just saying, like, this is another tool we should be using first.
It's a preventative tool.
Right.
Right. Before we even get there.
Yes.
And it's a tool that we can use to support ourselves in getting out. Will it work 100% of the time? No. Oftentimes there's other root causes that need to be addressed, like sleep. Right. And we know that as professionals. But there's, I mean, it's a massive piece to the puzzle. And it's unfortunate that we're not talking about it more. And every woman who's gone through this experience can attest to the power of food and the emotional connection we have to food, right? I work with clients all of the time, and I constantly hear, I had no idea, right? I just wanted to eat better this time around because my last birth was so difficult, or whatever the case may be. They were terrified of having the same experience. They were trying everything they could, and they're like, this is night and day difference. Like, it's almost incomprehensible, the changes that occur. And when you provide that from somebody, can I just say, like, as on a business perspective, right? Like, we know what you're doing for women. But what is that going to do for your business? I mean, if women are like, that person changed my life, right? Guess what? You get to go change more people's lives, because that word spreads.
Right. Exactly. They're going to be singing from the rooftops.
And now all of a sudden, doulas have a really good name. Like, you're building the reputation of doulas everywhere. And you're changing the lives of women who are going to tell their friends and tell their friends, right? That's how we change the world. Yes. Like, seriously, that is how we're going to change motherhood. That's why I'm here. Can you guys tell that that's my passion?
Can you tell why Miranda and I are friends? I mean,
yes. I know.
So I know, and I'm glad you brought up the business side, because one thing I made a note I want to say is, when this is another I talk a lot about, and I don't want to get into it too much, but like imposter syndrome and like taking more trainings. Oh my gosh. Feel like you're not ready. But I think learning about sleep and nutrition are my two, like, yes, this is worth it, because maybe you can even charge more. Maybe you can raise your rate because I know you have a whole training program for doulas, but if you're providing, these nutrient dense postpartum foods that people are going to rave about, and it's a value add to your services that you can absolutely raise your hourly rate for.
And, I have so many doulas who come into the postpartum nutrition certification, and at the end of the training, I talk a lot about business and the things that you can do with it. I mean, you can do online coaching now.
Yes.
So you can do nutrition classes. I even walk you through the process of how you can hold, this is like a very like a blooming thing that we're seeing, is like, instead of having a baby shower, or like the baby shower be like a food shower, and everybody brings ingredients, and you are simply helping walk people through how to cook meals. And then when everybody leaves, mom has an entire 6 weeks worth of meals in her freezer after her party. Like, these are things that women are seeking and looking for and are wanting in their life. I've had several clients come to me and say, can you help me find a doula who specializes in this? Because I'm not finding it very often. Like, again, women's understanding of their needs are growing. We're recognizing that, hey, nutrition is important, and people are searching for this. The same with sleep, right? And so,
Right.
just as you said, nutrition and sleep, those are your key tickets to truly supporting root cause care.
Yes.
And you're already doing so much with nervous system support, right? And like all this, even if you're like, what, I am? Yes, you are, right? Like, absolutely providing so many tools for that. And those are really the three basics that you need to have to worry about. So I can't stress it enough.
And I think that it's something I hear a lot as a postpartum doula. I get hired a lot, and you kind of mentioned this. I get hired a lot by people having their second baby. And they're like, I just, I did it alone the first time in terms of postpartum. I don't want to feel that way this time. And so they know, like, they want more sleep, and they know they need to, like, pack their freezer full of meals. They know they need help with healthy foods. So I just, like you were saying, it's just, this is a great way to kind of bulk out those packages. So let's talk about, I know you work one-on-one with clients, with actual moms, but you also have a whole certification program for doulas. What do you teach in that? What does that program entail?
Absolutely. Good question. And I know that you have a link, so it might be.
I just put the link in the comments.
You can go to that website and learn all of the details that we talk about. So I talk specifically on those physiological and psychological changes, because that is the fundamental piece to understanding the science and the tradition behind this, right? There's multiple components to this. It's a blend that we need to understand. That's how we're going to truly support postpartum women. A blend of science and cultural traditions and women's stories from around the world. Like, we need to take into account the individual. So all three of those components, what does that look like? How is our body shifting and changing within the postpartum period? And then from that, really understanding nutrition as a whole, how it works within the body, what you can do with it. Everyone who is certified or going through the program also gets the postpartum nutrition plan itself. So you can learn about it, you can implement it yourself, you can use it for your clients. I show you how to do all of that. And really just diving into, I mean, we talk about breastfeeding and lactation and food and lactogenic foods. I mean, we go through everything you could possibly need And then there's an entire business section, right? Which I had just talked about. How do you implement this into your business? How do you remain in your scope of practice? What are the different things that you can do with your business? Something new that will be this year is I have recorded a multitude of client interactions, so one-on-one interactions, and a group program. And so these people have said that it was completely okay for this to be shared within the program. So I literally walk you through exactly what I have done to support people and postpartum and their healing with nutrition. Like I'm literally, you're listening in to my one-on-one coaching sessions and a group sessions, right? It's absolutely incredible. So
that is so cool and so helpful.
I know.
And I just want to say the program is extremely comprehensive. Like you cover so much. I've talked to like people who view, nutrition experts or people that like that what's it called? Integrative Institute for Nutrition.
Yeah.
People that have gone through that whole program, then they take yours and they're like, wow, I learned so much.
And no matter where you are in the process, no matter who you are or what your training background is, the thing about this program is that it's very easy to understand. And it's probably one of the biggest things that I get is like, well, wait a second, shouldn't it have been more complicated? And it's not, right? And especially because you walk away with like 300 plus science articles and journals. Like I give you all of the science behind it. You really truly understand at a very deep level, starting at like level 0.
Yeah.
And so no matter where you are in the process, like I'm building you up through. And so when you walk away, you're going to be like, wow, I have a very clear understanding of it. And it feels easy. So actually my partner and I, she is so helpful. She helps me with all of the back end. She's an incredible assistant. And she's like, do we make it a little bit more complicated? Like maybe it's too easy. I was like, no, I don't think that's the case. But I like, this is just incredible what we go through. And so
that's awesome.
I highly
Someone
recommend.
just asked a really good question. This is more than just sharing recipes and stuff. Do you cover like herbs and teas and that kind of thing for postpartum?
So there is actually a separate e-course for that specifically. So that's herbal care and practice within the postpartum period. So I actually provide that for you in this course, but I send you off to another course because that is a whole other area of study. So they're so intertwined though. Yes. They're so intertwined because herbs are a type of food and they are something that I use with all of my clients. They're exceptional. And I want you to have a very clear idea of how to blend both of those together. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, not only do you need the nutrition aspect of it, but then there's like the whole herbal aspect of it. So let me help you understand herbal formulations. Let me help you understand why herbs are important, what herbs are important. So, I mean, I have a 100-page guidebook on recipes and herbs, and a multitude of videos on why, everything you can imagine about them. And then we combine them together in the nutrition program. Awesome. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes, yeah. So yeah, you definitely address it and cover it. And
yes. So much so that it's like a whole other, it's like a mini training course outside of this, because it's just it's so much more in depth. And not everybody wants to go there, but for those who do, it's available.
And another thing I love about this is that, just in terms of the typical standard American diet, I'm trying to think of an example. Like I've been at a client's house and they're like, oh, I'm so hungry. Can you like grab me a Diet Coke out of the fridge and make me, I don't know, make me a salad or that, or, I don't
A
know,
sandwich.
like chicken nuggets out of the freezer or,
Yeah.
something highly processed out of the freezer. And, as doulas, it's a pivotal moment that we can say, how about, here's what I know. Like, how about a glass of water?
Yeah.
How about, a soup instead of this, processed. I just think so many, especially, those first weeks, it's so easy to reach for, the processed all-in-one pre-made dinners. And so having the tools from you to educate about what we should be eating instead, right
And
after
what's going to heal the body. I think that's the key, right? What's going to help a mom heal and recover faster, stop bleeding faster, right? Be able to have more energy so she can get up and go, be able to fall asleep faster and easier, like have her breast milk be more regulated. Like oftentimes when we're not getting enough nutrients, we either don't produce enough or we produce too much. And that's uncomfortable. And so there's a lot of worry and there's a lot of guilt and so much associated, emotions associated with breastfeeding. So, I mean, by really stepping in and helping educate and be there to cook those meals, if that's what your clients want, is completely game changing. And I will tell you, as doulas, I mean, you're coming in the first couple of weeks, which is beautiful. But when you have postpartum nutrition coaching and the ability to support somebody in nutrition, you can extend your business practices several months to several years. My average clients are 2 to 3 years postpartum.
That is a great point.
So your clients are so much, I mean, you have a longer stint with them, which means a better communication, a better relationship, and more opportunity to really like hone in and address their core needs and support them at a whole different kind of level.
And kind of, I talk about this a lot, like with sleep consulting, like you finish up the postpartum period as a doula, 3 or 4 months, but you can, if you're coaching them through nutrition, like you can continue to work with them as they continue to recover and prepare for their next pregnancy. Like that's another, this is a great way to fill in, like continue to work with your favorite clients.
Yes.
In between, I always joke that I'm sitting around waiting for my favorite clients to give birth again, but this is a way to stay in contact with them and continue to help them. So I don't know how much time you have left, but I want to ask 2 questions. One person just, can you explain again why smoothies are not ideal, cold smoothies during the post?
So let's talk about cold. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think this will help a lot with the understanding of smoothies too. And there's so many different components about smoothies, but let's talk about cold. So what happens in a postpartum, what happens in a body that's healing, is we need fat for healing. Okay. And so when we're ingesting something that is cold, what's happening to the fat that we've ingested? I'm just giving one quick example. It coagulates, right? It comes together, right? Like when we put bone broth in the freezer or we cook a meal, right? All of that, like that layer on the top. That's what's kind of happening in your body along with it. When I talk about eating cold food, like don't eat cold foods because of what it can do to the fat. It makes it harder for your body to absorb. And fat is necessary for hormone balance, tissue repair, and breastfeeding. And not to mention your brain function as well, right? So that's one example. But here's another component about cold foods, especially in regards to smoothies. It also prevents absorption of key nutrients, that coldness coming in, and it slows the blood flow, right? So when you have a wound, any type of wound, like if, let's say you cut your leg, right, or something happened, we don't want to put ice on it. We actually like heat. Why? Because it brings the blood flow to the area. Blood flow oxygenates the cells. It helps remove toxins from the cells. It brings key nutrients to the cells so it can recover faster. Same thing that happens within the human body. And so you look at traditions around the world, if you were served cold foods, it was detrimental to your health, right? And the Chinese culture, they once believed that by even being around a cold breeze, you invite illness into your life in postpartum, right? Mm-hmm. And so they had these really strong values. You couldn't even take a shower, right? That was part of the reason why you didn't wash your hair for several weeks after having a baby, was so that you did not invite that cold into your life. And so they had this idea of it, but when we look at the science behind it, right? Now we're like, okay, I completely understand why that is taking place, because that coldness actually prevents the healing. This is the same with what do you call the perineum pads, freezer pads, right? It helps in the first 24 hours in reducing swelling. After that, it will hinder healing.
So fascinating.
Don't do it. Right? Don't do it. It will hinder. The best thing you can do is have those legs spread open and a heater fan on it, right? Like that is what's going to heal your body. Same thing with your insides. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then we can talk about, most salads and smoothies contain raw fruits and vegetables, requires more enzymes in order to digest. Your body is not producing the enzymes necessary to digest. That's part of that biological, physiological change that is occurring within your body. Then we can talk about sugars. A lot of times when we are eating smoothies, it's full of fruit. It's a very unnatural way to get a significant amount of sugar in your body, even if it's sugar from a banana or fruit, right? It throws off your blood sugar levels like nobody's business. The studies on that is amazing. So I can go on and on. We can have an entire Zoom call on salads or smoothies and cold foods. So
I just think it's so fascinating, and it makes sense. So the last point I want to bring up is, again, the kind of the idea of the things that are common but not normal that we talk about in postpartum. And that's like the brain fog and the, memory issue, the mom brain. And you were the one who taught me about postpartum hair loss. I was like, oh, that's a thing. That's just what's supposed to happen. But you're saying this is all linked to nutrition.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Now, there's a caveat to everything, right? Yeah. We do have a mom brain, and if we try to do everything in our power to do all the things that we had once done before and live in this very logical state of being, that mom brain is gonna really kick in. And mom brain is usually a sign that you're doing way too much. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Our brains shrink. We go into this internal way of knowing that is different than this external logical way of knowing, right? And so there is that component. But when we are not getting the nutrients that we need, that feels really difficult and challenging, right? When it's just regular mom brain, it's kind of like, oh, that was funny, right? Like, oh, I can't believe I just said that. Or why couldn't I think of that word, right? Like you kind of chuckle at yourself because it doesn't happen as often. But when you are nutrient deprived, it's overwhelming.
Right. Right. So just again, all the more reason that doulas need to train in this, learn about this, share with their clients. I've said it 5 times already today, but we're in just such a unique position to help and really make lasting changes for, and the babies too, like, hello, babies too. So, and the moms and the parents, the whole family. So, which is what
Yes.
doula
Yeah.
care is all about. So I've put the link for your postpartum nutrition certification here in the comments. If people want to, well, I mean, your website's fantastic with answering questions, but they can contact you through there if they have specific questions, or what's the
Yeah.
best way?
And I'm dropping a link right here. And if you can share this with everybody, Nourish 2022.
Okay.
Okay. That is the code, and it's case sensitive. So it's a capital N, case sensitive. That's how you get $200 off for early bird registration, which closes this Sunday.
Okay. Nourish.
So make sure that if you are in, you take care of that right away, because again, it's closing very soon. And that's how you get the discount.
All right. Nourish 2022. All right. I just put that in there as well. So, okay. Says there's a 3-month payment plan. Is it possible to extend it to a 6-month payment plan?
Unfortunately, no,
Okay.
because I just don't have that ability on my side to do that. And when and the program is 3 months long.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let me hold on one second. So Maranda, thank you so much. This again, it's always just so fascinating to talk to you. I only wish I had met you 19 years ago.
I thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. And I have so many of your clients and the women that you've worked with come into my programs, and I've had the privilege of training with them, and they're so knowledgeable and so sweet. And I know that they're here to change the world, as I am, right? And that's what we're doing here. So I feel so strongly about it. Like, you're joining a team of professionals who truly believe the same things. Like, we are here to make a difference. Something's got to give. It's not okay to experience a mediocre motherhood.
Right.
And we're here making those changes. And this is foundational to making that shift, to bringing us back to our roots, to supporting us, on an ancestral level, on a traditional level, on a evidence-based level, like so many different components. And I just can't stress this so much. It's
important. It's so important. And I want to say back to you that same thing. I've had clients come through my programs that have done yours. Everybody raves about just how much information is in there, how much they've learned, how much they enjoyed it, just the high quality of your certification program. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing. Also, you have a podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
Oh yeah, Postpartum University podcast, right? You can go to postpartumu.com and you can see all of the things that we offer. And there's a link to the podcast. We talk about so many different components to health and healing. And I think it's important to note that, like, I think what makes our podcast so different is that we're really focused on those components of health and healing and postpartum that no one is talking about. We don't tell women how to heal in postpartum. We don't tell women how to prepare for postpartum. And when we do get those clients, right? Again, they're like they've had 2 kids, right? Or 3 kids already, or they're prepping for their second one, and they know the significance, they know the value. And that's simply because we're not getting the word out enough.
Right.
And so there's so many different components, but on that podcast, we go into, I mean, I tell you how to detox and postpartum safely. That's a huge taboo subject. We talk about so many different avenues, the thyroid, the gut health, all of it. I mean, all of it, mental health.
Oh, and I love,
of course.
Right. I love all that stuff. And I think what it comes down to, I mean, this is like in my doula heart, this is, educating women and birthing people about, it's kind of giving them more control.
Yeah.
And
it is.
Change their lives for the better. So,
and again, as a doula myself, I want to be known as the person who changed their life, not the person that they absolutely need in order to thrive.
Yeah, who came in.
I don't want to be their savior. I don't want to be anything of the sort, right? I want to be the person who has the tools that handed over the tools. And now they're thriving because they have the tools.
Yes. So, and as you mentioned, then they're going to go sing your praises as a doula to all their friends. And it's
not only just for you, it's the entire doula community and the entire, like, to have a mom say, actually, I struggled and then I fixed it because I hired a doula and they told me about nutrition and how to sleep, right? Like, and then what are you doing? You're breaking stigmas. You're breaking the idea of, oh, wait a second, I don't have to suffer. Oh, there's somebody who can help me, and they're absolutely amazing. There's something called these doulas, right? And then of course it comes back to you tenfold, right? And so that grows your business, and you're able to support more people and book up and refer out to other doulas because you're too booked, right? And it's an amazing process. I'm telling you how I did it, right? I'm telling you how I grew a multi-six-figure business and now work online. Okay. I'm telling you how to do it. Just follow what I just said.
That's we barely even touched on like that. This is a whole virtual component you can add to your business.
I know it truly is. Again, people are searching for this, and we need this. We live in really interesting times right now, and a lot of people feel safer online, and we need to continue having income, right? It doesn't go away just because something like COVID comes around and kicks us out of work or whatever, and so yes.
Or even those of us, was talking about this morning with a doula friend, and she was like, she's like, I'm getting older. I can't do these overnights. I can't do these 40-hour births, this on-call life. Like, this is another way to,
or I have another kid that I'm expecting, right? Like that was me. I was like, here I go again. I'm pregnant, right? Like I can't be doing this stuff anymore. I've got to make some switches. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for all that you do for doulas and the world. I mean, your impact, Maranda, is incredible. So thanks for taking the time to come talk to us today. And everybody's all excited. They're checking out the site, so they will be reaching out with questions.
Yes, any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out. Again, use that discount code. If you're trying and you're unsuccessful, make sure the nourish, the N is capitalized. It's case sensitive. I don't know why it's got to be so challenging. I didn't make it up, right? It's part of the system, whatever, but make sure you use that. And I will say we only have a few seats left. So if you're interested, make sure you get in as soon as possible.
Yes. And that code expires Sunday, right?
Yes, it expires Sunday. Early bird registration ends.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Maranda, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. We'll be in touch for sure.
All right. Bye, Maranda.